Hey everybody, welcome to Out of Bounds with Dillon James right here on JDF Sports. We are joining you this evening, Wednesday evening. Week 2 is about to be upon us. We've already experienced week 1. A huge slate of games happened this weekend and some really, really good games happened this weekend. One of the games being the game of the year as of right now, and it might be the game of the year at the end of the season as well. Bills versus Ravens, back and forth affair. We'll get more into that in just a moment. That was the thumbnail for this episode this evening. We also have some talk about the Steelers and Jets, talking about your boy Aaron Rodgers, former boy Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Honestly, sorry for cutting you off.
No, you're
but
fine.
honestly, if that Bills game did not happen, I think that could have been the game of the Jets Steelers game. Because I was watching that game at work, and honestly, just watching the Jets look competent. And They look good. They had a few issues. Sorry, we're sort of jumping ahead there, but they had a few issues. But I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But that game was good.
It was very good. I mean, the thing is, looking at the week 1 slate, there were very good games across the board, and there were some also very good, not very good games, very interesting games that we didn't think were going to occur the way they did. A lot of sputtering to start, like we always are used to in week 1. We're always used to the offenses not putting up the offensive production that we're expecting. Fantasy owners, I'm sure, were freaking out this week because of the output they had from their wide receivers, from their running backs. Some of the quarterbacks out there, their typical fantasy stars, did not have the best performances, which we'll talk more about this evening. But there were some really good games out there. Dolphins, Colts, interesting game, which we'll talk about in just a little bit as well. Maybe a new star in the AFC South that we haven't seen there before. So we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Also, the 49ers might see a new quarterback in week 2 already. So we'll talk more about that as well. And also, before we get started, I just want to let everyone know, everyone on this show knows that if you get an elbow inbounds, it's a catch. Just to let you know, out there, you might have seen this week Brian Callahan coming out after the game, not challenging the catch by Alec Iomanner on the sideline because he felt as though you had to get an elbow and a foot in bounds for it to be a catch. So we are smarter than an NFL head coach, just to let you know. In case you were wondering, we know our rules around this show without a bounds. Sometimes, most of the time, Tyler, Alex, and myself are pretty keen on the rules of the NFL. Just throwing that out there. We'll talk more about that later, too. Talk about a Titans and Packers update. Tyler will have more of a positive, I'm sure, conversation about his team than I will. So I look forward to discussing that towards the end of the show this evening as well. Let's get into our first point, though. I am joined by Tyler Sorensen, as always. Tyler, hello. Overall thoughts of the week.
I mean, again, we sort of hit on it a little bit. Week 1 normally sloppy. Normally, you don't really know what's going to happen. I think the wide receivers definitely had a big, especially in my fantasy league, I had Jamar Chase, who I thought was going to do good, and then T. Higgins as well in one of my other leagues, so I thought was going to be okay, hey, he'll do good, but then that never happened. I had to go on my bench, so that was not a fun time. But I mean, again, it's week 1. Basically, I feel like the first month of the season is always just an extension of the playoffs, just getting them back to normal. You could start to tell who's going to be good and who's going to be bad by the end of the month. So I mean, it's a good testing point, but also it's the extension of the preseason, because when you do have teams that play their primary starters throughout each week of the preseason, you sort of know that they're going to be bad throughout to start the season. And then for the teams that don't really play it, like how the Packers, I think we played our starters for a drive or two, maybe the first game and then the third game. We didn't really play them in the second game. So it's just going to be an extension of hey, let's hit our spots, hit everything like that. I think those are the differences between the bottom tier and the top tier of the teams.
Yeah, for sure. I do have chat open now, so I do see the chat coming through. Fitz is already in the chat, joining us this evening. My guys, let's go. He also said, game of the year, Titans versus Broncos. Don't rub it in, Fitz. Don't rub it in. We'll talk about it later in the show.
I didn't watch it.
Laugh out loud. And he also said, Micah Parsons chasing down Jared Goff is Packers porn.
Yes.
Which, yeah, it is. Also, if you're out there watching the show, feel free to hop in the comments like Fitz is doing tonight as well. We'd love to get your thoughts on your favorite team, on what happened in week 1, your overreactions after week 1 as well. I would love to hear some overreactions in the chat, and we can talk about those overreactions as we go along this evening. I believe week 1 is typically a liar as well. There are some performances out there that, one performance in particular, the Colts, great performance for this week. 33-8 against the Miami Dolphins. However, I'm leaning on the side of it was the Dolphins being a not so great team this season compared to the Colts are now a Super Bowl champion, which Pat McAfee already went out on his show this week saying that the Colts are going to the Super Bowl just because of what happened in week 1. They're going to the Super Bowl. They have their guy in Daniel Jones. Pump the brakes just a little on that. I don't think that's going to happen. Could they win the AFC South? Potentially. The AFC South is a weak conference.
Yeah.
And anything can happen in the AFC South. But I just don't see the Colts being a Super Bowl team yet. But nice try, Pat. Nice try. It's only week 1. Again, week 1 is a liar in most cases. Fitz says, I guess I overreacted, but are the Lions cooked? Quote
Talk
unquote
about that
for
a
this
little bit.
week. Thank you.
We can talk about that a little bit later because I got some stuff on the Lions that I want to get off my chest as well.
Okay. Let's talk about that a little bit later. We'll put a pin in that, Fitz. Thank you.
We'll put a pin in that. Do you mind if I sort of jump in with the Colts conversation as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just to let you know, so Daniel Jones in this game, 22 of 29 for 272 yards passing and a touchdown. Solid debut. Solid debut for the Colts. A competent quarterback who can actually throw the ball and be better than what AR was probably hovering around 40 to 50% completion percentage last year, the past 2 years.
I think he was about 45% the past 2 years.
Yeah, so not the best. And you know what? This is perfect timing. Wesley Burton's in the chat. Go Colts. Wesley, good to see you. You were just missing my rant a little bit about the Colts. Again, great performance in week 1. Great. I still feel, however, that it was more on the side of the Miami Dolphins are just not a very good football team than it was the Colts being a Super Bowl contender this year. But that's just me. Also, Fitz is showing love to Wesley in the chat as well. You continue, Tyler.
Yeah. No, but okay. So going to it as well, because Shane Steichen is the current head coach for the Colts. Was he the coach that drafted AR as well? Because I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't know if it was a year after.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Wesley, but I believe he was the coach when AR was drafted.
Because that sort of depends on what I.
And Fitz said yes.
But
yep.
Fitz said yes. Okay. Yep. Well, I think Daniel Jones is what they wanted Anthony Richardson to become, just with a bigger arm. And
I mean,
when you sort of take a look at it, because Daniel Jones has a little bit of mobility. The only reason why he doesn't have the arm strength of Anthony Richardson. But I think when you want that, you want to have a much more mobile quarterback, and that's exactly what Daniel Jones can do. Especially when he was with New York, the biggest issue was just that he had that neck injury a few years ago, and that sort of limited him really much so. And I think this change of scenery will also do really good. Obviously, we're sort of talking about the Dolphins as well, who I have as potentially on the fringe of getting the number 1 overall pick next year. So I think that's another thing to be said. But I think if this sort of situation continues where he is able to, say they do go to about 500 this year, I think that's exactly what you want to do, especially with Daniel Jones as your quarterback. Because I don't think Anthony Richardson could have gone 22 of 26. He probably would have gone 15 of 26. There's no way. But obviously next week they face the Broncos, so that's going to be a tougher opponent. So I think we're going to see a little bit of what their ceiling is going to be. But I genuinely think that we were sort of talking about it before, but the AFC South is so weak. The Texans didn't look good. The Titans got their barns blown off of them. The Jaguars.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. Come on, the barn doors blown off of them. It wasn't that bad.
From what I could tell,
it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be. We covered. It wasn't 8.5. We covered at 8. So
yeah, and you guys were also playing the Broncos, so I just had to do that too. But I mean, I genuinely think they could win the AFC South and make a sneaky playoff run. Do I think they'll win in the playoffs? Probably not. but I think they could make a playoff run where it's hey they beat weak division. They got the Broncos, Titans, Rams to end off the month. So I mean, two of these teams look pretty good. Titans, like obviously again, rookie quarterback, what's going to come up with that sort of stuff. But if they go maybe 3-1 in this opening month, I think they could. They're already off to a hot start because then they have Raiders, Cardinals, Chargers, Titans again the next 4. So I think they could get off to a hot start and continue that throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, Wesley chimed in saying, you may say that it could have been a product of the Dolphins being bad, but the way the Colts won was unexpected and not anticipated by anyone, Colts fans included, if I'm being honest. I completely agree. I think that if you had told me that you had won because of Daniel Jones's arm on offense and the defense held the Dolphins to only 8 points, that's unexpected. Absolutely. I think the defense is a bit less unexpected than Daniel Jones's performance was, but he was efficient. Jonathan Taylor only had 71 yards rushing in this game. So a balanced attack by the Colts on passing and rushing. Defense, again, was solid, as we've seen the past couple of years. I mean, they've been known for their defense for many years now. The Colts have been. So I wasn't necessarily surprised by that, but I was surprised by the offensive performance, especially with Daniel Jones behind center. That was definitely unexpected on my end. No turnovers, enforcing at least 3 turnovers. Miami scored in garbage time, and Taylor sat out the fourth quarter. So, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about NFL too. Especially going into betting, looking at betting. It's so funny with the NFL when they get out to these huge leads because I mean they don't have to worry about having to look good for the AP poll or coaches poll or what have you. They don't have to go out and just keep pouring it on like they do in the college. The NFL is just like, oh, we won. Let's just sit everybody. Which, if you're a bettor out there, you're probably more excited about betting on college than you are in the NFL because of that, the potential blowouts. But it's just interesting. That's something I just was thinking about this weekend. Yeah, I mean,
one thing. Oh,
yes.
Sorry. One thing I wish I could find, because I've been sort of looking at it. I wish I could find the passing chart for Daniel Jones versus the Colts versus the Dolphins this year. Because obviously I wasn't able to watch the game because I could only watch one game and I was at work at the time. But I wonder if like a lot of the passes were maybe 5-8 yards downfield, and that's the reason. And that's a lot of the reason why you maybe get to the short stink and dunk, because that's the one thing that Anthony Richardson could not do at all as a quarterback. And I wonder if that's sort of another reason why they sort of were able to do this good. But again, it's hard to tell when you can't see that and see all the statistics and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Next Gen Stats would have that chart for us to see. I'm sure you could probably look up on Twitter and just say Next Gen Stats, Daniel Jones, see if anything pops up there. But I do think that Daniel Jones likes to take his shots down the field. He did with the Giants anyway, so I'm assuming there was at least 1 or 2 deep shots in this game that Daniel Jones threw, especially having some of the outside guys. Michael Pittman Jr. had a long catch, I believe, towards the end zone. So I believe that was one of the deep passes that Daniel Jones had.
And I found it. So I'm not going to count how many there are, but a lot of them were 10 and under. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 4 between 10 and 20, and 1 30 plus.
Okay. I think the 30 plus was the Michael Pittman Jr. pass, I believe.
Yeah, but a lot of them were in between goal line of scrimmage and 10 yards, which Anthony Richardson could not hit if his life depended on it last year.
Which is good. I mean, and also it just shows you that Shane Steichen's trying to get Daniel Jones into the rhythm of the game, which that's something you should do with your quarterback, especially if they're in a new system. And the first game they're playing with the organization is that you should get them comfortable in the game, get them comfortable in the playbook, and that's exactly what they were doing. So yeah, Colts, definitely unexpected. Offensively, definitely. On the flip side, Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins. Is Mike McDaniel on the hot seat in Miami? I ask that because in 23-24, the 23-24 season, they went to the wild card game against the Chiefs. Chilly game. Cold. We know Tua does not play in cold. It was the Chiefs. It was the Chiefs.
They also had a game against the Bills.
They did. I think it was the year before that. I think it was the year before that. in 22-23. But in 23-24, their last game in the playoffs was against the Chiefs. They lost in that game, wild card game. But since then, Mike McDaniel is 8 for 10 in the last 18 games he's coached, last 2 seasons. You've had these weapons, Tua, you had Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Achane. You have these guys, these weapons around. He's supposed to be like this offensive guru, and they just were not. They didn't show it at all in Week 1. Do you think that is a fluke for Week 1? You think it's just one of those things? Again, it's just a slow start for the Miami Dolphins, or do you feel as though this is the beginning of the end for Mike McDaniel in Miami?
I think this is definitely the beginning of the end. I don't think he's going to get fired this year. I think he definitely will probably get fired next year. The only reason why I say I don't think he'll get fired this year is if Tua gets hurt. If Tua gets hurt again, I think they move on from him. They draft another quarterback. They try to get the vibes right, and then as soon as that happens, then he's going back out. But yeah, I don't know. It's just been when he started being the coach, it was a very it seemed like he was a very chill guy, that sort of stuff. And then once the vibe started turning, then he seems like he just doesn't have that I don't care attitude. Like he had an answer in a press conference last week that was like, well, he said something so dumb that I was just like, I don't like that coming from my head coach. That it's like I wish I could find the actual quote that he said, but it's just like it seems like he doesn't care, but I don't know if it's just like that's like just the surfer bro attitude that he's trying to keep everybody loose, but when your team is literally trying to fight you on the sideline, i.e. Tyreek Hill, it's not a good look.
Fitz said was Ollie Gordon.
I don't think
or was it the one about dying?
It was the one about dying or something like that.
Okay.
He said something.
Really, to me,
something about like penalties or something like that. And
Mike McDaniel acts as though he's filming an episode of The Office.
Yes. No, 100%.
Every time he's at the podium, he feels as though he's filming a TV sitcom, and he has to have these sound bites to stay in the media. I don't know why. He just feels that way. But because we're another day closer to death is the quote that Fitz put in the chat. I think that is. I think I do remember seeing that.
Yeah, that's the quote. Yeah.
Also, Fitz is saying, he's been saying that the Dolphins, it's the demise of Mike McDaniel. He's been saying it for a long time, and now the world actually sees it. And I agree. I think that the world does see past Mike McDaniel and his Jerry curl. I think after the Jerry curl is when this whole thing started shutting down. Now, the wild card game against Chiefs, obviously that was a bad loss. You were going in, riding high. All of the narrative around that game was Tua Tagovailoa cannot play in the cold. He can't. Frigid game, and he just proved all of his doubters right. He proved he could not play in that game. He proved they could not figure out a game plan to win against the Chiefs, the eventual Super Bowl champions that year. That was their best shot. After that moment, like into last year, the whole Tyreek thing, him coming out saying that I'm done with this team, but then in the offseason, they figured it out. They had a kumbaya moment, I guess, at some point, or Tyreek felt as though I won't get traded anywhere else, so might as well just stay here. I don't know, but Tyreek's kicking himself. I said it last year. I said the year before that. Tyreek is kicking himself that he left the Chiefs in the first place. I think both parties would be in a better spot today if Tyreek had stayed in Kansas City, especially last year.
Last year, I agree with. I don't think the Chiefs would have gone to that many Super Bowls because that defense was a lot better once he left because of the draft picks. But I definitely agree with the fact that I think Tyreek Hill will be in a better place if he didn't leave and it was staying with Kansas City. But yeah, no, I don't think they even, because I remember when the season started this year, Tua called out Tyreek and was like, "Oh, you can't just say I'm done with this place, F this place." Like, and then come back and act like nothing happened. We got to work on that relationship. And I don't think they've really worked on that relationship because it's Tyreek Hill, who Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. You take a look back into his college days, he's still Tyreek Hill. He's still the same person. It's just one of those things where you basically built this offense based on the spread of formation, spread and speed. That's what you hope to get. Now you have an aging Tyreek Hill, a Tua who's had one too many concussions,
One.
and
12.
or 12 too many concussions. Jalen Waddle, who can't catch a ball half the time. Achan, who is still good, but he's already had an injury history now. He's been in the league for 2 years, if that. Like, you don't have a lot of speed. And then you trade away your best player. You trade him away. You traded away Jonnu Smith because he wanted to get paid as a tight end, and you brought in Darren Waller, who was retired last year.
And week one with the Steelers, Jonnu Smith looked really good this week.
Yeah,
he looked really good. Aaron Rodgers has his weapon, and also Arthur Smith has his favorite tight end now. So that offense is going to look really good, which we'll talk about in just a moment as well.
That's the one thing too. I'm surprised Ian. It's not Ian Eagle. It's Ian Eagle.
Ian Eagle. Yep.
Ian Eagle. I'm surprised they never talked about that because they were talking about him going to all these different places, but they didn't mention that this is the third time that they've been reunited. But that's another thing. But yeah, no, I genuinely think it's just going to be after this year. It's going to be a hard reset. I think because especially with them trading Minka Fitzpatrick. No, they traded Jalen Ramsey for Minka Fitzpatrick back. I think it's going to be a start of the end for this team, and I think they're going to be fighting for that bottom 5, top 1 seed.
Yeah, Fitz has here the quote about Ollie Gordon saying he might get touches, he might not, he might get them all, he might get none. Just kind of playing games with the media. I mean, it's just
Ollie Gordon. So I'm a little bit love-hate relationship with Ollie Gordon because I remember last year, because obviously he's a rookie this year, but they were talking about him getting the Heisman last year. I'm like, okay, Ashton Genty's the better running back. I'm not saying anything about that. And then he sort of fell off. Ollie Gordon, if they get into the red zone and they don't use Ollie Gordon, that's just not smart. He's such a good power back that I think that's what they need. And obviously this time they weren't able to really get in the end zone, but if they don't utilize him correctly, which I don't think they're going to do, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be a bad look for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I don't know what I should probably look at their schedule right now, but I think genuinely they could have a chance of going 0-4 to start off the season. Because I know they play the Bills one game.
While you're doing
they literally play the next three games are all AFC East opponents. They play Patriots, Bills, Jets. I genuinely think
that could be 0-4. Yeah, that could be 0-4.
I think that's 0-4.
Especially last week after the Patriots losing, I'm sure Mike Vrabel's going to have a taste of blood in the water, especially going into play against Miami. Fitz also said it's rumored that Hill has another domestic violence accusation against him today. He also lost his captain patch, which that's not surprising, especially with the offseason, him saying he wants to leave. I wouldn't have the captain patch on him either. I do think it's the end for Mike McDaniel. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when at this point. That team is cooked. The Dolphins are cooked in the AFC East. I mean, a lot of looking at the Bills, that's the team in the AFC East. I mean, the Bills. That's just it. Which, let's segue into that game, because that was probably the greatest game of the slate, of the year, most likely. Bills-Ravens. And these two teams, whenever teams like this match up against each other, it's always must-see TV. Every single time. You come into this game looking at it, Derrick Henry getting up in age for the Ravens, 30+, doesn't usually bode well for running back. You also have Lamar Jackson coming into this game, had a MVP caliber season last year, arguably should have been the MVP last year, but I still think it was Josh Allen, which it was.
So, also, didn't he have like an injury as well in the preseason, something like that?
Yeah, there were some injury concerns
they were,
too.
Resting him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So they come into this game guns a-blazing. The Ravens do. Guns a-blazing. They were up by 15 points in the fourth quarter. Josh Allen ended the night on fire. I think they came back within 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Within the last 6 minutes of the game, they came back, fueled by a fumble by Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter. Mind you, Derrick Henry had 18 carries in this game, 169 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. So the king is still the king. Derrick Henry is, if you don't think he's a Hall of Famer at this point, I don't know what to tell you. In my book, he is already in the Hall with the career he's had. And especially looking at his career from high school to the NFL. He's been the best running back in every stage of his career. High school, college, and the pros. It's insane.
Is it like 600 yards until he's still like 600 yards away from passing his high school record, his high school yardage, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. But Derrick Henry was balling the entire night. Josh Allen had a pretty good game up until the fourth quarter. Like he was still playing well. It's just that the Ravens looked unstoppable. The Ravens looked like they were a well-oiled machine, had the tandem, like Fitz is saying here, had the tandem of Henry and Lamar, best duo we've ever seen in a backfield and quarterback, in Fitz's opinion, which arguably it could be. I mean, it could be right now, but it could be even more cemented that way by the end of this season. It's very hard. The thing is, when I think of it, I always think of that photo that Lamar Jackson shared. I think it was Lamar Jackson who shared it on Instagram or something. It was a picture of him, Derrick Henry, and DeAndre Hopkins together. And they said, this trio needs to get together. And they did. In Baltimore. DeAndre Hopkins had a one-handed touchdown catch in this game that was ridiculous. He still got it. Even though he has limited snaps, or he's not getting it targeted as much as he was back in his prime, he still has it. You saw it with the Chiefs too. He was limited there as well, but he still had it there in the Chiefs. Now he's with the Baltimore Ravens. Another piece for Lamar Jackson to throw to. But Derrick Henry was having a great game. Lamar Jackson was having a great game. Defense, the corners were injured, so it probably gave the Bills a little bit of an advantage there when it came to the wide receivers going up against the corners there in Baltimore. However, the Baltimore corners were holding their own because I think their top 2 starters were injured, so they were not in this game.
No, Jair was playing. Jair was playing, and Kyle Hamilton got hurt midway through. I don't know who their other starting one. Nate Wiggins, I believe, is their other starting corner, which I think he also got hurt midway through as well.
So their secondary was banged up in this game.
Yeah.
For the most part. The unit was banged up. But the Bills played very, very well. Fourth quarter, 8 got turned on. This was the first 15-plus point comeback since 1967 for the Bills in Buffalo. Crazy game. They were just able to do it. They were able to get in there, get that win. The Ravens are still reeling from it. Fitz also said like Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, and guys like that are good, but those guys, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, are insane. It's because of how mobile Lamar is. It is, absolutely. And again, I used to come on the show 2 years ago, and I would say, look, Lamar Jackson's a top 10 athlete, not a top 10 quarterback. He's improved wildly in the pocket over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, this year he looks so good. He looks so good in the pocket. Like his decision making as well looks so much better, even compared to last year. He's making these plays. I think who was it that somebody pointed it out in a podcast that I listened to, but he's actually audibling this year.
Mm-hmm.
He audibled multiple times, which I don't think we've seen that happen previous years. Which he's making those steps, and then also too going back to it as well. Can you imagine if it was Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry like 10 years ago when the zone read option was beginning, like the early stages of that, and defenses didn't know how to deal with that?
I mean, defenses don't know how to deal with them right now.
But yeah, now they have the zone option, like they have like the option like rule. This is how you beat an option team. But can you imagine them in the pistol formation 10 years ago running option plays, just zone read option, just boom, boom, boom?
Yeah.
That would have been, they would have gone 18, they would have gone 20-0. They would have gone undefeated and just won the Super Bowl because of that, which
it's insane.
It's still insane. And then obviously you mentioned the D-Hop stuff. Obviously, and then also as well, Zay Flowers Didn't play the last game they had because he was injured. 7 for 143 and a touchdown. Just this, I think that's the first receiving threat that they've ever actually had as a Raven. Like, it's insane. Like, they
I
actually
just
have
hope
receivers now.
I just hope we get to see this matchup again. I hope we get to see
this
this matchup in the playoffs. I hope this matchup turns into the AFC Championship game.
It will. It's a preview.
If the Titans don't get there, obviously. But if I had my druthers and I wanted to pick a single game to see in the AFC Championship, these two teams would be there. Because it was electric. Absolutely electric. Loved watching every single minute of it. And yeah, just the best of the best going at each other. And it was great to see. Both teams this year are going to have incredible years.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, and especially too, you think of this loss. I think it's going to affect the Ravens a lot more, obviously, because they did end up losing. But I mean, like, it's one of those things where that game was so good that it's like it's going to be the difference between first and I think it's going to be the difference between the 1 and the 2 seed.
And we didn't even talk about this. The winning field goal, Matt Prater came in this week. He was a free agent. Came in on Thursday before the game and kicked the game-winning field goal for the Buffalo Bills this weekend. 32-yard field goal. He came in because Tyler Bass was injured.
On IR.
And Matt Prater came in.
Yeah.
And
did you hear
that was when him and Josh Allen met for the first time when he walked into the locker room that Thursday.
Yeah. Did you hear the people like after the game saying, "Oh yeah, we thought he was just a coach that just came in here," and it's like because of his age, it's like, "Oh right. Wait, no, that's Matt Prater. That's our kicker." Like,
that's our kicker. Yep. It's crazy. Crazy game all around. Both teams looked solid. And I'm excited to see what they do for the rest of the season. But I would be very, very happy if we can get them in the AFC Championship game. If not the AFC Championship game,
I think this is what I say. If each one of these teams did not make the championship game, it's a loss of a season.
Yeah.
I think that's when you start looking at, okay, what can we do to improve? Because obviously the Ravens made the decision to get Jair Alexander, which being a Packer fan, I worry about that decision because he did get burnt by Keon Coleman multiple times in the game and gave up the pass to get literally should have given up a touchdown, something they could have gotten the ball back. But I mean, you take a look at that, but it's like for the Bills as well, it's like, okay, we made it to the AFC Championship game again. Now we just need to win it, and then we'll be in the Super Bowl, which I think that's what they need to do. And I think Keon Coleman also stepped up as well this game. He had like 100 plus yards, 120, 112. So he looked good. James Cook looked pedestrian, which I'm not surprised by because obviously he had a breakout season last year. But
and they really weren't running the ball that often either.
No,
they were really,
well,
especially because they were down.
Behind.
They were down for the majority of the second half. But yeah, they weren't running the ball that often. But then when they were, James Cook was getting yardage. He was getting yards. It was just that, again, it wasn't as much as what we saw last year. But I'm sure we'll see more and more of James Cook as the season progresses, especially since the offense is now in rhythm. You would assume that waking up in week 1, moving forward now, the offense will not start as slow as they did in this game.
I also love this too, looking at ESPN. So Baltimore receiving had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 receivers. There are 6 receivers, tight ends, running backs, whatever you want to call them, get the ball. Buffalo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 different receivers getting the ball, or receivers, running backs, receptions of the ball.
Yep. That
just shows you that, like, hey, like, Josh Allen is going to throw it around because they don't have that number 1 guy. Obviously, Keon Coleman is going to be your number 1 guy. Khalil Shakir is going to be number 2. Dawson Knox is going to be your number 3. But it's like getting these guys all the ball where it's like 60, 60, 50, 58, like just getting that repetition as well, especially early in the season. I think that's a lot better than just force feeding one guy, which is sort of what obviously the Ravens playing up. They're going to be running their quarterback, running back option. Read with that because you obviously have Derrick Henry, but I think getting those many wide receivers involved in the game, especially in the passing game, is going to help them a lot more down the road than just utilizing maybe 1 or 2 receivers.
Yep, I agree. Let's go to our next game here. Before we have notes here in the background. However, I did not add some of the notes. I want to hit on these first 2 games. of the season. Cowboys-Eagles game. Did you watch that game, the Thursday Night Football game?
I did.
Okay.
I did, yes.
Cowboys didn't look bad.
Didn't look bad. Kenny
Cowboys
Clark didn't really do anything.
No, he didn't. And I mean,
I
Eagles,
feel bad for that.
The Eagles were the Eagles. I mean, I think we were kind of...
The Eagles actually looked pedestrian. Obviously, they didn't have Jalen Carter because of the whole 6-second thing, which I don't know if you heard of this because I think it came out earlier today, but because of him not taking a snap in the game, it already counts as a 1-game suspension. So he's already technically served a 1-game suspension for spitting on Dak Prescott.
Interesting. I know that Adam Schefter came out during that game and said that they were looking at potential further suspension as well. Did that ever?
I don't think so. No, I think that's sort of what because I got it from Rappaport. So I think that's sort of what the whole thing is, that technically he served a 1-game suspension, so they're not going to serve him with another game suspension because that will technically be a 2-game suspension.
Interesting.
But I think also with the whole, like, the other angle of Dak spitting towards him and then that whole thing, like, I think this is what I think about that too. It's so dumb.
It's very dumb. It's very, again, even if he spit on the ground towards you, Jalen Carter, you're a rookie in this league. This is your first, well, not rookie, but
third year. Very young player in the
Very young player. Very young player. You know not to do that to another player. Especially being so detrimental to your team. Because at this point, if Jalen Carter was in the game, I think that we probably would have seen him. I think we probably would have seen a better performance from the defense. I mean, obviously, he's a game changer when he's in there. You don't spit on somebody else. Like, that's just, it's common knowledge. Just don't spit on somebody. Even if Dak Prescott spit on the ground towards you, typically what happens is the person who is fighting back or the person who is retaliating against someone who did something first usually is the one who gets in trouble. And in this case, that was what happened. So again, very detrimental to the Eagles. Eagles still won the game 24-20. Close game. There was a weather delay in this game as well. About an hour and 15 minutes worth of a weather delay that made it to where the game ended closer to 11:30 Central, I think it was. Something like that, 11:30, something like that.
Well,
so it was pretty late.
No, actually, it got back on, I think, by like 10:40. So it was it was out. And then obviously, like, I think both teams were just sort of done after the lightning delay. So they were just like, because it was really good before the lightning delay. And then afterwards, it was just like punt, get the time down. Okay, let's go.
Well, and also there was a turnover for the Cowboys. The Cowboys got the ball back, and then the weather delay happened. So all the momentum the Cowboys had to try to get back into this game kind of fell flat at that point, getting the ball back. But again, close game. Good game to start the season off with, a division rival. So we're always excited to see games like that. Another game too, which I talked about last week, about a team that I feel as though is going to have a very, very good season and will potentially challenge the Chiefs for that crown in the AFC West, the Chargers. 27-21 against the Chiefs in Sao Paulo. Chargers look really good. Justin Herbert, that was probably the best he's looked since his rookie season.
I was not able to watch this game because I was at work shooting different high school games around the state line, Rockford area. But looking back at it, I saw some clips. It looked really good. Oh my God. Quentin Jenkins? No. The wide receiver at TCU. Quentin Johnston actually could catch balls, which was surprising to me.
Yeah.
He looked really good. And then now I think he's on an injury report now.
Awesome.
That's insane.
Awesome.
Well, but I mean, like, if he's able to catch that, I think this is the most used times they used a wide receiver. With you got Greg Roman and John Harbaugh, and they're actually changing their offense to be a running.
That was the most surprising thing about that game, is that Justin Herbert was slinging the rock on the first drive, throwing it left and right. And what we've seen from Jim Harbaugh's offense, especially last year, they loved running the rock. They loved just pounding it, and they were just letting Justin Herbert sling it this year. I think it's because they had the wide receivers to do so. Keenan Allen's back with the Chargers this season. Quentin Johnston was actually catching passes that night too, which he didn't have bricks for hands, which I'm assuming he was on the jugs machine a lot in the offseason. Just looked really good. Ladd McConkey in there too, being an option for Justin. Wasn't really utilized that much in this game, but he's still an option for Justin Herbert. I think Keenan Allen kind of took away some of his snaps. But again, I think they're going to have a very, very good season, especially when they start sprinkling in more of the run game that Jim Harbaugh likes to add in there. Just starting the season off with a win like that against the Chiefs, against a team that made it to the Super Bowl last year, it bodes well for the Chargers this season. So I still think they're going to have a very, very good season. Let's kick over back to our notes here. Steelers versus Jets. Aaron Rodgers debut against his former team, came out after the game saying that he was excited to beat everyone associated with the Jets because he won this game. He was 22 of 30 on the day, 244 passing yards, and 4 total touchdowns. 4 touchdowns in this game. Just looked like vintage Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, he really did. And honestly, like we were sort of talking about this before, but this game, I think if the Bills-Ravens game didn't happen, I think this could have been the play of the game of the week, because obviously we're talking about Aaron Rodgers because obviously he was the winning quarterback, 4 touchdowns. And he had it more of a revenge game than Justin Fields, but honestly, Justin Fields looked really good. There is stuff in there that you did not see from him with Chicago, with Pittsburgh last year, that he actually was throwing the ball over the middle of the field. He was throwing the ball to spots. He was looking really good. He wasn't just taking it down, reading his first read and running it. He actually looked really good. Obviously, 218 touchdown pass through the air, 48 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, which I loved one of them, just the good old Peyton Manning fake out, just spin around and just run around everybody. I love that. I love that play design so much. And they looked good. And I think that's exactly what you want if you're a Jets fan. Is you don't want it to be blown out. Like, this could have been a game that they could have won. I think the Steelers had a 14-point swing. They had touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell that was returning the ball. He got stripped from a kickoff return, and then they scored right away. Right after that, so it's a 14-point swing. They scored right before halftime because Aaron Glenn wanted to use timeouts after they received a first down, which I think you should not be doing that against Aaron Rodgers, because it is still Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day. But I mean, not Kenneth Gainwell. I don't remember who it was. Xavier Gibson. That's who it was.
Okay.
For the Jets that fumbled it. Kenneth Gainwell's on the Steelers. But I think there is a lot of just like, hey, rookie head coach. Justin Fields looked good. Obviously, he had that last pass, which I think he could have ran it and got that first down, but I think it was a good job throwing it, trying to get that first down to Garrett Wilson. Just Jalen Ramsey was just there and just blew up Garrett Wilson, because after them jawing back and forth, he had a little bit of envy in that. But I mean, honestly, that looked good. I think the connection with Garrett Wilson is obviously bringing back that Ohio State connection looks great. I think that's exactly why. Breece Hall looked okay. He had 100 yards, but I feel like it was a very quiet 100 yards from what I could tell. But I mean, he looked good. I think the Jets could be a really good team this year. I was sort of saying before, it just sucks that they're in the same division with the Bills, so they're not going to win the league. They're not going to win their division, but I think they could be that sneaky 6, 5, 6, 7 seed, or right? Yeah, 4, 5, 6. Or it goes to 7 seeds now. Yes,
yeah, 7 seeds
playoffs. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking it doesn't, but 6, 7 seed, just right there. Obviously, next game is going to be the Bills, so that's going to be a tough game for you guys. But then you got the Buccaneers, Dolphins. I think you could end the season pretty good, because you got the AFC South in there as well that you got to play, or you got the Jaguars that you got to play. So I think it could be a pretty good team this year.
I think so too. I think Justin Fields played better than expected. I think Aaron Glenn put a pretty good product on the field for his first year as a first-time head coach. Yeah, it was interesting too, looking at the Lions, the Jets, and the Bears. All 3 Lions former coordinators or head coach, with Dan Campbell. All 3 of them lost this weekend. Yeah, so look at that.
But I think one of them had a better outing than the other 2.
Yeah.
Personally.
I agree.
But also because the offensive coordinator also came from the Lions as well, because he was the old passing game coordinator, which I think that's another reason why that Jared Goff looks so good was just having him there. And I think I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I think that's another name that he's going to be. I think he could be a head coach in a few years. I hate saying that because I think I like when coaches stay with their teams, but I think especially if he keeps showing out the way they do and the Jets continue to improve, I think he could become a head coach at some point.
Yeah. I think we'll probably see. I mean, we'll see coaches out there that are coordinators currently who are poached to be head coaches for certain teams earlier than they should be. The coordinators out there that should have a bit more seasoning before they actually become a head coach, and they don't perform well as a head coach, and they fizzle out very quickly. Matt Patricia in Detroit, other coordinators that are out there that have had that same scenario happen. Hopefully, though, I hope that coordinators take the same path as Ben Johnson for the most part. I think that once you've had some success, I think it's good to add to that success you've had and then get a head coaching job. I think you can have more success that way in the long run. But again, I'm sure there are other coordinators that are going to be that way. So all I say that for is to say that coordinator staying with the Jets a little bit longer past this year, maybe another year on top of that. Just build that resume a bit more before you become a head coach. Just to give you a bit more cushion and potential to, be better as a head coach once you get there.
Yeah, Tanner Engstrand is the offensive coordinator. Beforehand, obviously, he was the Right Lions passing game coordinator, tight ends coach. This was his first actual big job being an offensive coordinator. He was an offensive coordinator for the DC Defenders back in 2020.
Ooh,
so
okay,
that's some XFL work.
Throwback.
But he was a San Diego and Michigan guy beforehand.
Nice.
So
love that.
Only 28, so 43. He's 43 years old, so still fairly young as well for offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Steelers, though, I think the biggest thing, Aaron Rodgers playing the way he did, it looks like Arthur Smith is back in his wheelhouse. He has a good quarterback. He has the tight end he wants. He has a good run game. He has a good, pass game. Just it was wide open for that offense on Sunday. I still think the Steelers are going to have a good year. Would I be surprised if they end up being around just 500 like they always are? No, I wouldn't be.
The only thing that does worry me with Rodgers, though, is that he does look his age. He does look very slow. There's a few plays in there, especially early on, where he got sacks. He had 4 sacks for 26 yards. He looked. But I think especially if the Steelers are able to protect him, I think he should get the ball out fast. That's sort of his game, is just get the ball out fast and see what happens.
And there was a headline underneath this in the ticker. Aaron actually came out and said that he had some back tightness, lower back tightness, which led to some of the mobility issues he had in week 1. So that might be a lingering thing throughout the season, or might be able to get worked out. But that was probably something that led to it. But again, yes, he is over the age of 40, playing quarterback in the NFL. You're going to see some age there. Trying to keep him upright and keep him healthy is going to be the main concern for the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward. He did a good job of that last year with the Jets. He actually played throughout the rest of the season last year, which is good. So hopefully that's a good sign for the Steelers this year. But we'll see how it goes with their quarterback room.
Yeah, and then one last thing for the Jets as well. Obviously, because they lost Elijah Vera Tucker before the season started. I believe it was to a torn pec as well, if I
think so.
correctly.
Yes, I think so.
So that's a massive blow for the Jets, especially on the offensive line right there. But even with that as well, because I believe Josh Myers is now starting at center for them, and their current center moved to guard, which obviously, being a Packer fan, I have my love-hate relationship with Josh Myers. He was not that good for us, but he does have that connection with Justin Fields as well, because he was their starting center for Ohio State the year he was drafted. So he does have that repertoire. He does have that connection, which, I mean, having that center quarterback connection is something that I feel like it doesn't get talked about a lot. And I think having that connection back and then having that connection with Garrett Wilson as well, I think the Jets are going to be, like I said before, looking up and within the next 2 years, because they have him for the next 2 years. And honestly, I think I keep going back to this as well. Justin Fields in the New York green just looks so good. I don't know why. I love the Jets new uniform.
Yeah,
I think it's the white face mask, but it just looks so good.
It does. We'll see how that goes throughout the rest of the season for them. Let's go over to the Vikings-Bears game. Caleb Williams came out looking closer to that first overall draft pick that we were expecting on the first 2 drives of the game, the scripted drives of the game. But then it kind of teetered throughout the rest of the game, especially in the second half. J.J. McCarthy did not look the best in the first half. Wasn't able to just get his wide receivers open, wasn't able to drive the ball down the field. They weren't getting many points on the board. Second half, though, J.J. McCarthy turned it on, got 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, 1 passing touchdown, I believe, in the second half. Looked like Kevin O'Connell was telling us. He looked like he was the guy that they had been touting throughout the entire offseason in the second half, and woke the Vikings up, and the Vikings were able to come back and win that game against Chicago Bears in Chicago.
Yeah, and also, too, this is the one thing I do got to say about it, though. J.J. McCarthy did get the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. I don't think he should have, but that's
recency bias.
There. Recency bias. Because sort of talk about it as well from the Vikings' point of view. They did not look good to start that game. The first, I genuinely want to say the first 3 quarters, he did not look like a
Justin Jefferson wasn't getting involved in the passing game.
Which that was annoying because I have him on both my fantasy teams.
So. That and then Adam Thielen also wasn't involved at all with that acquisition of him. You would think there'd be some familiarity. They had actually ran a segment during the game of Adam Thielen and J.J. McCarthy working out together in the offseason the past 2 years. They showed some film of them on a practice field in a high school in Minnesota or a college in Minnesota throwing the ball around together. So it's like you have that connection. Why is he not involved in the passing game at all in the first half? So questionable things were happening in the first half. Mason, the running back there for the Vikings, was running the ball pretty well for the Vikings, kept the ball moving a bit. But yeah, the pass game was just not there in the first half for the Vikings.
No, especially, too, when you think of Kevin O'Connell as well, just being the quarterback whisperer, you think that passing game is going to be really good. I wonder if that was just, obviously, again, I don't think J.J. McCarthy played in the preseason as well, so I think that could have been just knocking off the nerves, knocking off the rust there. This is his first game actually playing in the NFL as well, because I don't think he played in the preseason, or he did play in one preseason game and then he got hurt, because he tore his ACL, he tore his ACL week 1, week 2 of the preseason. So I think it was just nerves getting to him and everything like that. But I'm excited for him this year. I think that could be good. And then sort of just taking a look at that as well. Then he dialed up Aaron Jones with the nice little wheel route, just getting out there, getting the ball in there. That one touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson is really good as well. Was really good, just sort of throwing it in there. But again, I think it's just a little bit worrisome if you're a Vikings fan, just as the game went on. I think you're a little bit better, but I think that just that worry of okay, are we going to start the slow every week where it's hey, we're coming from behind 14 plus points, and then switching it to the other side, Chicago, are we going to have another collapse this year as well, where it was this time? Because like you said, Caleb Williams looked good in those scripted plays. After that, he did not look good at all. Obviously, they had massive holding penalties, a penalty that shouldn't have been called, because working in Illinois now, oh God, I get to hear about that the entire time yesterday. It was insane. But I mean, it's one of those things as well where I think if you're a Chicago fan looking forward, I think you do have some good stuff to look forward to. But I think you're also a little bit worried that the same thing could happen again, where coach comes in, quarterback is not to his liking, drafts a new quarterback gets shipped out. I think that could happen. Do I think it will happen? Probably not. Do I hope it happens? No. Could I see it happening? Yes.
Yeah.
I know there's that massive hit piece as well, basically on Caleb Williams, that came out as well with 32 anonymous sources. I didn't read it. I don't really care for that sort of stuff, but some of the stuff in there is a little bit interesting. Do I think it really matters? Not really. I think it's just all about what comes up to it. But I think if you're a Bears fan, you're a little bit worried. But again, very long season. I think, again, I think came out in the offseason they're just scratching the surface on Ben Johnson's offense. And I think you definitely see that. And I think next year is going to be the year that everything comes together.
Yeah, I always had my doubts about Caleb Williams coming out from college. I don't know. The scripted plays, again, they looked good. Scripted plays looked really good. After that, I think it was a bunch of execution. I wouldn't necessarily say it was Ben Johnson's play calling that was the negative there. I think it was more of execution, but it just did not look good. And they just could not put it together. They let the Vikings just stay in it throughout the entire game, and they just made them pay in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's the biggest thing to me. But at least Caleb Williams had his fingernails painted. That's at least, multicolored. Like, he was feeling good about himself that night.
Yeah, one thing as well, though, sort of going back to the Bears side of things. The one positive that I got to say as well, their offensive line, they actually have an offensive line for once, which is insane. I think that's a great improvement. The money is actually looking towards it, but I mean, again, I think that like you're sort of mentioning, execution. That's the biggest thing now. Is just executing everything, and I think that's going to be the biggest issue coming forward now. Is just execute everything you guys can, and I think that's going to be the toughest opponent, especially with Chicago, where they have a fairly tough schedule this year. They're in the NFC North, which I think is one of the best divisions in the league. But you got Detroit next week at Detroit. They're going to be looking for a win. At versus Cowboys, who if they come out like how they were against the Eagles, I think they could do fairly good. Raiders, Commanders, who look very good against Giants, but it's the Giants, so let's see how well they are. And then you got the Saints. So it's like early in the season, I think you could work on some stuff and get back the rust off, but it's like the later half of the season, you got the Packers twice, you got the Eagles right before, then you got the Steelers, Vikings again. Like it's gonna be a rough season for them.
Yeah. Let's go to our next game then. Talking about the Niners. Niners played this weekend. They won. However, in that win, Brock Purdy got injured. He had a toe injury and a left shoulder injury. And now it sounds like Brock Purdy's going to at least miss 1 week. They say it's a long shot for him to be starting this weekend. So therefore, the backup quarterback there in San Francisco is none other than Mac Jones, who will be starting for the San Francisco 49ers, most likely in week 2.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Mac Jones.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think another big thing as well is that Kittle also got hurt as well.
Yep.
They're already down Kittle. They're down their quarterback. They're down Jawan Jennings is still hurt. Brandon Ayuk is still hurt. They're just sort of pulling people out on a stretcher again this year, which is insane. But I think Mac Jones could run the offense. I know there's like a whole thing going out, like especially when the draft happened, that Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones, but they ended up drafting Trey Lance because of John Lynch wanted him and that whole thing. So now Kyle Shanahan gets to work with him now, which I think that could be interesting. But I don't know. Obviously, you face the Saints and the Cardinals the next 2 weeks. Do I think it's going to be...
I mean, the Cardinals are going to be a tougher test.
Cardinals are going to be a tougher test, but you guys have the Saints next week.
Hey, you should. Like, you should.
The Saints, they already have a 66% win percentage as with their backup quarterback against the Saints. Like,
yeah.
It's going to be one of those games where I think it's going to be just, hey, it's the Saints. Like, just go a little bit easy on them. Let's rest them a little bit. One thing that did surprise me, though, is that the whole thing with CMC for the season, before the game started, like, he was like, oh, yeah, he's got another calf injury. Like, is he actually going to be hurt? That sort of stuff. And then he had, like, 22 rushing attempts this game, which I think was insane. Like, he had 22 carries for 69 yards. They just kept giving him the ball, which nice. I thought was a little bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I don't know. He just had, what was it, Achilles tendonitis last year. You got Brian Robinson Jr. from the trade. Might as well use him a little bit more, but they just kept hammering Christian McCaffrey. So, I don't know. Ricky Pearsall did do good, though, which I'm excited for.
I like Ricky Pearsall, especially after last year getting shot and then coming back in the game and playing well at the end of the season. Hopefully he can build on that this year. I think he will. Although if he have inconsistent quarterback play, then that's not going to be good for him. Mac Jones can come in. I think there is a report out there saying they're also looking for a quarterback on the open market too, just to bring in potentially somebody else. But again, I think Kyle Shanahan can do good things with Mac Jones. We've seen him do good things with other quarterbacks. Jimmy G, for instance, being a quarterback that was in that system, performed very well for San Fran, got them to the AFC Championship game or NFC Championship game several times. So I think that you could probably have a Mac Jones in there who can be a steady hand at least, if not being a guy that you're relying on to be the game changer that he might need to be. Because Brock Purdy's not necessarily known as like the X factor on the offense for San Francisco. So, I mean, as long as you have a steady hand back there as quarterback, I don't think it'll be that big of an issue. However, if injuries start mounting, if CMC gets hurt again, if George Kittle's out for an even longer, extended amount of time, if Jawan Jennings doesn't come back in a timely manner, I think you can have some injuries build up once again this year, and they can have a year like they did last year, where it was just tough sledding all year for the Niners last year. So I'll be fascinated to watch Mac Jones this weekend if he is actually starting for the Niners. He's had 2 stops, had the Patriots, had the Jags. Now he's with the Niners. I think that Kyle Shanahan can unlock things out of quarterbacks, and we've seen him do it with quarterbacks of the same caliber in the past. So hopefully we can see that happen with Mac Jones. But I'll be watching that one pretty close this weekend against the Saints.
Yeah, and plus also if they want to get another backup quarterback, Josh Dobbs is still out there, I believe, or is he on the Patriots?
Rocket
now?
Man.
I can't remember.
I think he's on the Patriots. I think he got signed by the Patriots. Yep, he's with Patriots.
Yeah, he's with the Patriots. So never mind. You can't pick him back up again.
I mean, you can trade him. You can trade for him.
You can trade for him.
I mean, I don't think they're going to want to give up somebody to trade for Josh Dobbs.
Yeah. So
anyway, now let's go to our updates for our hometown teams. Start with your Packers first. Packers had a good weekend this weekend. Debut of Micah Parsons in Green Bay. What are the top 3 things that you experienced during that game that you'd like to point out?
I mean, number one, starting off with just I wish I could have been there. This is the one thing that it's like, I wish I could like spend money and like go to these sort of games. The electricity as soon as Micah Parsons came out. My number one thing is like defense looked top tier already, but really this is just sort of the Micah Parsons effect. You knew that they were going to wait for him to come out. I'm glad that CBS was at the game. I think that was a great showing by them, saying like, "Hey, we're going to Green Bay week 1. We want to see that." I'm so glad that they did that. I think that's a smart opportunity for them, sort of have like a traveling like college game day-esque sort of thing. I think that's a really good opportunity for them because obviously Sunday Night Football does it a little bit, but I think actually having like that opportunity to go to these different games is great.
Not to cut you off, but did you see the Lambeau Leap before the game started with Nate Burleson and who was it? Matt Ryan was there. They had a fake wall up outside the stadium, and they were doing the Lambeau Leap. Bill Cowher did the Lambeau Leap as well. However, he did not jump. He just was handed a ladder. Nate Burleson brought out a ladder and let him crawl up to the top of the wall and like cheer with the fans that were there. It was very funny. And if they keep doing that, that would be, again, very, very smart by CBS to do that.
Yeah, it was. And also, too, I think CBS is outdoing Fox right now, which is weird to say. It's very weird to say that they're outdoing Fox. But going back to the game as well, obviously, Micah Parsons' debut, that just, you knew that it was going to be a fireworks as soon as that happened. Obviously, like we were sort of mentioning beforehand, didn't play as many snaps. I thought he was only going to play 15. He'd end up playing 30, 45% of the snaps in total, which is still like a very good opportunity to get him out there. I think he plays around the same, especially because they do play tomorrow against the Commanders. Primarily on passing situation downs. Did have a few running situations down, which, he can't stop the run as he's standing up Penei Sewell and Jahmyr Gibbs is trying to run around him and he just isn't able to, resulting in a 2-yard loss. I hate people that say that now, like seeing that sort of stuff, but whatever. 3 pressures, that 1 sack, that was just insane. It was all over my Twitter feed, all over everything like that, just all that sort of stuff. Pressures led to a lot of bad plays as well from Goff. There's that one that he was jabbed outside, came inside, just right in Goff's face. Goff had to throw it right away, and it got picked off by Evan Williams to end the half, basically, which I thought that was an amazing play. Just he played amazingly last night as well. Love looked good. Obviously, didn't have the best game as well. Didn't have an interception, but He should have had two picks. Alex Angeloni just sort of dropped one that was right to his hands, and then that other one is a Brian Branch pick 6, but that got called back due to a defensive holding call, which I'm that's so thankful for. But I mean, he looked good hitting his spots for the wide receivers. Dobbs as well. Wicks actually didn't drop a ball, which I thought was amazing as well. Um, just kind of lead to my third thing with the wide receivers not having the dropsies, which I think was really good. Matthew Golden had a few catches, didn't really do much, but I mean, when you're up, what was it 17-3 in the second quarter, I think you don't really need to do much. You just got to keep the lead, which we did really good with. But I mean, all in all, I think they look good. Defense looked pretty good. Christian Watson also just got signed an extension as well, 1 year, $13 million today, which I think sort of emphasizes that I think we're going to be going off of Dobbs next year, which is I sort of hate to say because I like Dobbs. I really like Romeo Dobbs, but when Christian Watson is in the offense, I think it just looks 10 times better. But I mean, all in all, pretty good day for the Packers. I don't know if you want me to talk about the Lions right now when I sort of said like I had some thoughts on the Lions, but
yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the Lions a little bit and their loss this weekend.
Yeah, 27-13. The Tesla catch, that was insane catch. That was just that. I don't know if you saw that, but that was, oh my God, that was an insane catch. But again, my worries came true. Brain drain. I think Dan Campbell, obviously, again, week 1, a lot of these coordinators are new, promoted through the staff, so it's going to take a little bit for them to gain their footing. Okay, we want to run our offense now, but still have that sort of Ben Johnson-esque style to it. It's going to take a little bit, obviously. Jared Goff is like 0-16-1 with coordinators not named Sean McVay or Ben Johnson, which is an insane stat to think about. So that could be rough. But I mean, the Frank Ragnow retirement is going to hurt Detroit a lot more, I think, than people thought. There is so many plays that Colby Wooden was getting a lot of work in. There is a play in they were at like the 1 yard line that should have been a safety, but Colby Wooden is just not getting blocked by anybody. I thought it looks like, because there's a still image of it. Wasn't able to watch it because I was driving home a little bit during this time as well. But it looks like that the center was trying to pass it off to the left guard, and it looked like it was supposed to be like one of those like inside zone sort of runs, but it just never got passed off. He's just sort of standing there in the gap, just nobody's there blocking him, and it's just like that needs to be worked on a lot, and especially if you're Detroit, where it was sort of built through the trenches. Obviously, they don't have Dan Skipper. I think they released him during the offseason as well. I think Taylor Decker is their starting center right now, which I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff going on with Detroit where it's like I sort of wonder if their Super Bowl window is closed. Obviously, do I hope it is? Not really, but that offensive line just didn't look good this week, and I don't know if it is just because the Packers' defensive line actually took a step up, which I think it could be, but I genuinely think Detroit just looked outmatched from every point of view. Every point of view. It's just like they just couldn't get anything going. David Montgomery had 11 carries for 25 yards, 22 carries in total, 46 yards for the Detroit for rushing, 31 of 39, 200 yards or 225 for Jared Goff. Just couldn't get anything going, which if you're Detroit, you play from ahead. You don't play from behind. And I think if they start playing from behind again, I think this could go back to that 16-1 season where they're playing from behind every single week and they just can't get anything going.
Yeah, that's not going to be good, especially if they don't have that rushing attack too. That's their bread and butter in Detroit. Dan Campbell wants to just ram it down your throat, and if he can't do that, especially with the offensive line having issues, that's not going to be good. If you're going to rely on Jared Goff to be the guy to throw the ball, if he needs time to throw the ball, and if your offensive line isn't good, again, we're going to see Jared Goff on his back a lot this season. Unfortunate, because I have the Lions as the NFC team representing in the Super Bowl. We'll see how it goes. It's a long season. It was week 1. Yeah. Again, week 1 is a liar, and the Packers are a very, very good team.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, they have Detroit next week at home, which I think that's a game that I think a lot of people have circled to watch for. Because obviously, Lions-Bears rivalry, but also the Ben Johnson coming back to Detroit thing. I think that could be a big circle. Then you're at Baltimore on Monday night, which I think that's going to be a rough game for them.
It's going to be a huge test.
Huge test. Because also, Aiden Hutchinson didn't really do much as well. He got He got free a few times, I will say that, but he didn't really
And
do
he is
much
coming back from a
from
pretty
his
major
broken,
injury.
yeah,
I
from
mean,
a major
like,
injury.
yeah, like
But I
he's
mean,
coming
like,
back.
yeah, but I mean, like, obviously he's coming back, but also you think of they already have those injuries to Levi Onwuzurike and the other defensive lineman that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But like you have those injuries as well, where it's like, okay, now it's just all Aiden Hutchinson, especially with the Packers offensive line, who I think looked amazing. I think Packers have a top 5 offensive line in the league because that's just how the Packers operate. They've always had a top 5 offensive line, but I think you're it's going to be rough for him to especially sort of replicate that season he had last year. We were sort of talking about it as well, where I think obviously I think he can still get comeback player of the year if he does have an average season, but it's just all about, okay, can he get it back to average and not just amazing? So
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be. I'm really interested to see how the Packers do the rest of the season. I think they showed that they could be a very, very strong team in the NFC this year. And the Lions, they need to prove to us that Week 1 was a fluke. Week 1 was because the Packers were so good, and they just started off hotter than the Lions did, and were able to put points on the board. So, interesting dichotomy there between those two teams.
yeah, I mean, also sorry going back to it, but like first drive was 12 plays, 83 yards, and a touchdown for Green Bay. Like that's how you want to start the game. Get about 6 minutes off the clock already. Like that's exactly how you want to start a game right there.
Yep. Agreed. Now let's go to the Titans. A little bit different. A little bit more mundane over here in Nashville for good old Dillon. Positive. One of the biggest positives from this game. Cam Ward looked very poised. In the middle of Denver, going up against a high caliber team in the Broncos at Mile High. Hostile environment to go into as a rookie quarterback in your first game, first start. Looked very, very good in the pocket. Had 2 sacks that were really on him. That kicked him out of field goal range, which wasn't the best, but he looked good. He looked good for his rookie debut. Didn't look like it wasn't like a Will Levis debut where you have 4 touchdowns passing and looking crazy. But he looked good. The stat sheet will not show that, but if you watch the tape and you watch some of the throws he made, the balls that were dropped, there were 8 passes that were dropped by his wide receivers in this game. Dan Orlovsky did a film review on Pat McAfee saying that he saw those traits in Cam Ward that were eye-popping, that if they didn't have those 8 drops, they probably would have won that game, especially with one pass that happened in this game that turned into, that would have been a first down that was not challenged, and they punted the ball away instead of challenging that, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But Cam Ward overall, I think, looked great. I'm very excited to see how he matures during the season, how he develops chemistry with his wide receivers, with his tight ends. I'm really, really excited to see how that plays out. Defense and special teams played very well in this game. Special teams last year let us down quite a bit. There were a few games that were on special teams, either poor punts that weren't fielded correctly, or the coverage was not there to stop for returns and things of that nature. Special teams played very, very well. Bones Fossil was a great choice to bring on this team as the coaching staff, as special teams coordinator. Defense, solid. Jeffrey Simmons looked very good in this game. Double teamed left and right. Devondre Sweat made his presence known as well in this game too. There were a lot of plays. Those two were just wreaking havoc on the offensive line for the Denver Broncos. Made it to where Bo Nix couldn't get comfortable in the pocket. Hardly at all throughout this game, which was great to see. Held him to 20 points in the game, which if you have a competent offense, then typically holding a team to 20 points or less, you will probably win that game. However, it leads to my third point for this game. I tweeted this out during the game, and I still stand by it. I even brought it up last week during the show. Brian Callahan will be the kryptonite for the success of this team. His play calling has not gotten better. Throughout the first half, he was trying to run the ball left and right with Tony Pollard. Tony at one point had close to 20 carries and maybe 30 yards. Not good. Not creative. He got to a point to where in the end of the first half, the Titans got the ball on their 7-yard line with less than a minute to go in the half. He decides to throw the ball 3 times instead of running the ball when you have 2 timeouts remaining. The Denver Broncos had 2 timeouts remaining. He tried to throw the ball 3 times, gave the Broncos the ball back, and the Broncos got a touchdown to end the half. The Titans, however, did get the ball back. They were able to get a field goal before the end of the half, which was a good thing because of a long punt return by Chimere Dike that set them up in field goal range. Great. The longest the longest punt return we've had since 2023, I believe it was. So that was good. Again, special teams, a positive. Brian Callahan in this game, second half, just couldn't get it done. One thing that happened in this game, J.C. Latham went down with an injury, right tackle. So another right tackle came in. Dan Moore as left tackle. We knew the Denver Broncos defense was solid. We knew their pass rush was going to be getting after Cam Ward or trying to get after Cam Ward all day. Dan Moore allowed them to get to Cam Ward several times in the second half. He gave up the most pressures on the team that day. Again, it could be because Denver's defense is very, very good. I completely understand that. However, the play calling was not... There were no adjustments made based on the offensive line and the struggles they had in the second half. Brian Callahan at the press conference said in the first half when he was trying to throw it 3 times, trying to be aggressive, trying to get points on the board to capitalize on the momentum that they had going into the end of the half. That's the reason why he threw it 3 times. One of the plays was a screen play. 3 wide receivers were on the right side of the formation. None of them looked towards the ball. All 3 of them were trying to block instead of one of them turning around to catch the ball from Cam Ward, had to dirt the ball. The third play that Cam Ward threw, he was actually in the end zone and barely missed a safety for the Broncos. So that would have been 2 free points, but we punt it back to them, and the Denver Broncos got a touchdown, long touchdown, to end the half. Brian Callahan also in this game. There was a pass by Alec Iomanner on the sideline right at the first down. His feet do not touch in bounds, but his elbow did. And the replay showed his elbow went down in bounds. Instead of throwing the challenge flag, like Sean Payton was doing all game long. Sean Payton challenged 2 plays, I believe, in the first quarter of this game, and won both challenges. On that drive in particular, Alec Iomanner actually was getting interfered with, so it should have been a defensive pass interference. I digress. It should have been a catch. They should have challenged it. It would have been a catch. At the end of the game, Brian Callahan went up to the podium and said, yeah, that catch, it would have been a catch had he gotten a foot in as well as the elbow. The elbow did come down in bounds. However, the foot did not. So it wouldn't have been a catch. That's why we didn't challenge it. Looking at the rules of the NFL, if you have an elbow or any other body part in bounds, you think about the Titans game back a few years ago in the playoffs. There was a play where a player got his butt cheek in the end zone. 1 cheek equals 2 feet is what the announcer said during that game. As long as you get a body part in bounds, you're fine. You got an elbow down. Everyone knows this in the rule book. However, he didn't challenge it. He came back the next day on Monday morning at the team facility, said, I didn't know the rule. I've educated myself on it now. Now I know it. Then later in that same press conference, he said, I misspoke during the press conference after the game. I do know the rules. And we just didn't challenge it. It was a quick decision that needed to be made. So what is it then, Brian? What is it then? Do you not know the rule or do you know the rule? I'm not sure I'm following. No one's following. So how much faith do you think that locker room has in their head coach who doesn't know that one elbow equals 2 feet and equals a catch in this league? Play calling is going to be the detrimental piece of this team this year. Cam Ward needs a solid play caller. At this point, I would much rather have Cam Ward go out there and call his own plays. At this point, I even brought it up. Paul Kaharski, paulkaharski.com. He's a Titans reporter, beat reporter. He had a live. He usually has a live after every game day, answer questions from fans, talk about things. I asked, was Brian Callahan asked about passing off play calling like he was last season? Last season he was asked in the offseason or preseason. Was he asked about the potential of handing off play calling again? Paul came out and said it wasn't asked, but why would we ask that? It's not going to do much good if he passes off play calling. I disagree. That's one less thing on Brian Callahan's plate if we pass off play calling to the offensive coordinator, Nick Holtz. He's there. He helps implement and integrate the game plan for that week during practice. Why can he not be the play caller in this scenario? That takes one thing off the plate of Brian Callahan to where he can be a GM of sorts when it comes to a head coach. You know, you have the head coach that could be like a GM. So he's the one that's just managing everything around him, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, make sure everything's good. Or you can be a hands-on head coach. Be the GM head coach instead. Let Nick Holtz deal with the plays on offense. Let Denard Wilson deal with the plays on defense. And you be dealing with time management. You be dealing with those decisions to challenge a pass or not challenge a pass or a catch or what have you. It's too much for him. Take something off his plate. And if it still is booty out there, fire him in the offseason. Just get him out of there. Get somebody else. There will be other coaches out there that will be available that could come in to potentially help Cam Ward develop into the quarterback we see he can be. Do not ruin Cam Ward's career by having a head coach who is incompetent and doesn't know the rules of the game. That's it. So the Titans, they have this week, they're opening up their home game against the Rams, so I will be there. Javon Curse is going to be the legend of the game in the fourth quarter, which is cool. I'm actually going to be on the field for something with Legend of the Game. My rep messaged me a few days ago and said that we're coming out and being a part of that, so that'll be fun. So I'll bring photos and or video or post them on our socials as well, my socials too, my personal pages, so feel free to look at that this weekend. But should be good. Hopefully Cam comes home and plays well against the Rams. Rams are going to be a tough test this weekend as well. Jared Verse, being a game wrecker he is against Dan Moore when he had struggles last week against the Broncos. Hopefully he can hold up a bit better this week in pass protection. And yeah, hopefully Brian Callahan can learn that, hey, you can't just run the ball the entire game, the entire first half, and then say, oh, we need to be aggressive now because we're behind. Let's start throwing it now. No. You need to trickle that in. You need to set up the play action. You need to throw the ball. You need to get your quarterback comfortable and into the game, into the flow of the game. That's the big thing too, is if you hand off play calling to someone else like Nick Holtz, let them worry about the game flow. I don't think Brian Callahan can get into a game flow with everything that's on his plate. As a play caller and as the manager of everything that's going on around him when it comes to defense, special teams, offense, game time management things. I don't think he has the capability, the capacity to handle everything that's going on at once. So hand it off, Brian. Hand off play calling. Let Nick Holtz do it. And so if someone needs to fall on their sword, let Nick Holtz fall on his sword. And then find another play caller in the offseason if you want to. But at this point, Brian Callahan, in my opinion, is on the hot seat. Because you cannot ruin your rookie quarterback who has such promise in this league already. You just can't do it. And it might be a Chicago Bears situation. That's my piece. Yep.
One thing I forgot to mention as well. The Packers also had a celebration in week 1. We had our 15-year celebration since Super Bowl 45. It's been 15 years since Super Bowl 45.
That's insane.
It's insane. Which I think is hilarious too, because somebody posted like, imagine having the starting QB of the Super Bowl not being there. Oh wait, he's still playing, which is insane. Because like he
wasn't
won
it 2015
after 5 years.
2015 when you guys went to 2016 probably when you guys went to the playoffs, and Aaron Rodgers. I'm trying to think of what that game was because I remember it was like a last minute. It was fourth quarter. Aaron Rodgers was trying to lead a game-winning drive. I think it was a Hail Mary to the end zone. Was
that against Arizona?
I'm trying to think of what it was. I think I was down in Orlando when it happened.
Here's the thing, though. You say Rodgers and Hail Mary, there's a lot.
There are a lot of Hail Marys. I'm just saying playoff Hail Marys, there's not as many.
There was one against Arizona, I believe it was 2016, where he had it late in the quarter, threw it down to Jeff Janis, got it to like the 50-yard line, called timeout. Did it again, rolled out to the left, throw it to Jeff Janis, which I have a photo of. I'll have to find it somewhere. Catches it, Jeff Janis catches it, gets it to overtime. We then score, we don't score. I don't remember how it works. I don't think we score because this was before the both sides gets the ball in the playoffs thing. So then the Cardinals get it back, and then Larry Fitzgerald just scampers down for 97 yards,
That's probably what it was. That's probably what I'm thinking. I think I was sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings watching that game in Orlando.
I don't remember where I was. I don't remember where I was for that game. I know where I was for the 2021 San Francisco snow game. I was at work, and then I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and then a kick got blocked, and then I was like, we are losing this game. We are not winning.
Yeah. Not the best. Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, goes back to my prediction. Packers-Chiefs. But do I hope the Chiefs make it? No. Do I want one of the other teams to make it? Yes, but I think it'll just be funny. Packers-Chiefs.
Yeah, Chiefs didn't look the best in week 1. Didn't look the best. But again, it was against Chargers. Again, I think the Chargers are going to be a very good team, but that was the first loss they had by one score since I think it was week 16 or week 17 in 2023. I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
something along those lines.
They were like undefeated in like 3-point games last year, which is insane.
So. Game of the week this week for you. Which game are you looking at most forward to?
A lot of these games look very bad. A lot of them look very bad. I don't want to be a homer and just say Commanders at Packers, but I think that's going to be the best game, personally. Obviously, the Packers defensive line, I think it's still like looking forward to that, seeing that again, second home game. Which, another thing, too, that I forgot to mention. When do you think the last Packers opening week home game was? I did research on this, by the way.
I'm not sure.
Last Packers opening week that we had at home was 2018. Since 2000, we've only had 8 home games week 1, which is insane.
Why?
It's insane. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because I was looking back at it because I'm like, why does it like it feels like we haven't had a home game for week 1 in forever. But yeah, we only had 8 opening week home games. like since 2000, which I thought was insane.
That is
But
interesting.
sorry, that was like a little tangent, but because we're back at home again this week. But Commanders Packers, I'm obviously looking forward to that game as a Packers fan. But one game that it's like I'm actually like looking ahead to like see if like it could happen. Buffalo at New York at the Jets. Obviously, I think Buffalo's going to win, but I think what I'm looking forward to is just the Jets and seeing if they are truly legit and seeing if they can hang with the big boys. And I think if they can hang with the big boys, I think that just sort of proves like, okay, this is a team now that has got their mojo back, has got their, okay, we can make some noise in the AFC.
Yeah, and I like to see the similarities between those two teams too. I think that they have some similarities. Yeah, that'll be a fascinating matchup. See if the Jets can hang. I would have to say the game I'm looking forward to the most. Like you said, it's not a very good slate of games here.
No, it really isn't.
I'd love to see if the Colts are actually the real deal against the Broncos at Indy.
Peyton Manning Bowl.
Denver's only favored by 1.5 currently. That's the spread. So I'll be interested in that game. Another game too, Ravens and Browns. Ravens are favored by 11.5.
At Baltimore too.
I thought 8.5 was bad last week for the Titans. 11.5 as an NFL spread. That's wild.
What is it? You vote that they're going to outperform it and they're going to underperform it, right?
Yeah.
What do you vote?
You either say they're going to win by at least 12 points, or they're going to lose, or the Browns are going to lose by less than 11.5 points.
I say the Browns are going to lose by less than 11.5.
I could, with it being a divisional game,
division, and it's Browns Ravens. Like I just
the
think
Browns. I think Myles Garrett. I think just him on defense is going to cause some problems for the Ravens offense.
Yeah,
I think I think he can be a game wrecker. So I need to look and see what the history is between those two teams, what the spread's been over the past couple of years. But Joe Flacco coming back to Baltimore, I don't know. I think that'll be a closer game than 11.5. 11.5 is a huge spread for an NFL game. Huge spread for an NFL game.
I mean, Buffalo's favored by 6.5. So versus the Jets, which I think that's fair. But I mean, again, interdivisional Browns, Baltimore, any AFC North game, and you're giving them 12 points to win by. I think that's just ludicrous. That's just insane. It's the AFC North. They're gonna beat each other up.
Yeah, you would think so. And hopefully Dillon Sampson, he was getting most of the touches for the Browns rushing attack this past weekend. So hopefully he continues and he can show the power he had at Tennessee up there in Cleveland. So we'll see about that. Also, Tennessee is playing Georgia this weekend. College game day is going to be there in Rocky Top. I will not be there because I'll be on a boat in Old Hickory Lake here in Nashville on Saturday, but I'll be listening to the game and then watching the second half of the game at a bar at the marina after we get off the boat. But yeah, Titans game, I'll be there this weekend on Sunday. Javon Curse.
Boise State is off this week, but they face Air Force the 20th, and I think Wisconsin plays Alabama this week. So that's going to be yes, they play them this week at 11 a.m. Wisconsin at number 19, Alabama.
Yeah, that's not gonna be good.
So, which you know what's funny? I was supposed to try to go to this game.
Oh,
which I'm sort of glad I'm not because I'm going to be working a soccer game instead. So
yeah, Alex will actually be at the Tennessee Alabama game this year at Alabama. He'll be there doing a shadow with the Alabama band, the marching band. He can only wear Alabama stuff though. He can't wear Tennessee stuff when he's there, obviously, because he'll be with the Alabama band. But he did say he's going to be wearing Tennessee socks underneath it all. So he'll have some Tennessee stuff on. So hopefully that gives them enough mojo that day to win against Alabama, which this is a year to do so, to allow us to win against Alabama 2 years in a row. But again, Georgia-Tennessee is going to be a huge game this weekend. If Tennessee can win against Georgia, it's going to be stock up for Tennessee this year. Tennessee looking like a playoff team already. Joey Aguilar, baby, looking so much better than Nico would have if he had stayed here at Tennessee, but he decided to go to UCLA and play like booty cheeks the first 2 weeks. Yeah. So
both my college teams are looking bad this year. So
also with college and NFL, I don't know if it's that way with your college team and the Packers. Titans and Volunteers cannot be good in the same year. Cannot.
I mean, I'm a Boise State, Wisconsin fan. Wisconsin hasn't really done much since we got Luke Fickell from Cincinnati. And then Boise State's just Ashton Genty, we had good. And everybody else is
this year. Yeah.
We got USF looks good. So USF that we lost by like 42. Yeah, USF, which they beat Florida. So I think they're looking good this year. So
yep. Alex Golish looking really good as the quarterback, as the coach there, the head coach there in South Florida. So he was a former Tennessee offensive coordinator underneath Josh Heupel. So anyway, thanks for watching the show, everybody. If you aren't already subscribed, please subscribe to JDF Sports right here on YouTube if you're watching live. If you're listening to us in the audio version, check us out on Wednesdays. We're live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on JDF Sports on YouTube. And also subscribe to us on all of your major podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music. We're everywhere. Subscribe to us there to show your support for the show. Thanks again for listening and watching. We will see you guys right here next week. As always, JDF Sports.